deep breaths in together. And a nice deep exhale, allowing yourself to even make a sound or a sigh, relaxing your jaw. And maybe even your mouth hangs open with a sigh. And see if a sound can come out from your lower belly. So bringing the sound a little bit lower down as you exhale. We're just going to breathe a little bit like that for a while. Inhale and exhale. Nice deep exhale from the gut, from the belly. With every exhale, just feeling any weight on the shoulders or on the neck, on the chest, or anywhere else in your body dissolve. The sound helps the dissolving. Any tension, any story. And see with the next exhale that you can dissolve. If there's anything that's like a little bit stagnant in the mind lately, or maybe not, but just allowing also the exhale, also to exhale any density of your own mind. So you may feel it in the body, but you can also feel it in the mind. So with the next exhale, any density of mind, exhale. And inviting you to feel your bottom, or you could say your sit bones, wherever you're sitting, your hips, your thighs, and take a nice inhale into the lower region of your body and allow it to swell with breath, to arrive with this sensation in the lower part of your body, your root, your sex center, your sit bones, arriving here into this present moment. And sometimes in our sit bones or in our lower part of our body, we can also hold, sometimes you can call them emotions, or sensations. We hold a lot in our pelvic floor. So with the next inhale, just take in a nice inhale. And as you exhale, also as you opened up your chest before, also open up the sit bones a bit more with an exhale. And even taking a breath all the way up the feet into the sit bones, and just feeling any energizing vitality that you can breathe into the lower part of your body right now. Breathing it into your roots. Imagine your legs like these nice long dangling roots into the earth, into the water. Just a nice breath into your legs, into your feet, into your hips. And a deep exhale down back into the earth. So just breathing like that into your root for a few more minutes. Arriving into this moment. So welcome, dears, to this webinar of Nefertum, or the Blue Lotus. It is with a great joy I welcome you to something that has been so dear, is so dear to my heart and soul for a long time. And the more I dive into the deeper, I don't want to say mystery so much, because it's not something that's so mysterious. It's something that I feel is more natural, more part of the world of living than it is in the mysteries, that I continue to become more and more touched and really deeply touched by the symbol of this flower. So this journey today will explore a little bit of the story of the Blue Lotus, the qualities of the Blue Lotus. I'm curious, for those who are here in the live right now, how many of you, maybe you could just write in the chat, have had experience with Blue Lotus, or maybe why are you here? What is calling you to be with the Blue Lotus? Maybe you've had a journey, or maybe you have no idea, but it's just somehow calling you right now. Get a lot of messages from people who, see the Blue Lotus in their dreams, or suddenly have this sense of, oh, I don't know why it's so important to me. I have no idea why. So perhaps some of you would care to write in the chat of, what does the Blue Lotus mean for you, or why are you here? So see, yes, no experience, but feeling drawn to it. Because I'm remembering by spirit. You've seen it in many medicinal drinks. Okay, beautiful. I tasted it with honey in an Isis temple, and ever since it's been calling my attention. All right, beautiful. No experience. My dad used to call me Lotus. Oh, that's beautiful. Very sweet. Oh, yes. Lovely. Thank you all so much. So yes, there is something that is drawing people deeply at the moment. So when I started with the Blue Lotus, it was about 16 years ago that I had my first sip of Blue Lotus, and I had just left Egypt. And interestingly, I was in Brighton in England when I had my first cup of Blue Lotus in a little tiny tea shop down by the sea. And it was a very magical experience for me, and me leaving Egypt, fresh from a country that I was felt, there wasn't many of those type of experiences I could have there yet. Leaving it, and Brighton, I was like, out of all places, but I knew that it would be a love affair for the rest of my life. I fell so in love with the flowers, so in love. And it's not that, like, from that moment it started to be with me, but it was, but not directly. I wasn't drinking Blue Lotus every day and in ceremony with it. But over time, the Blue Lotus kept coming up in my dreams. I'd have another cup somewhere along the line. And it wasn't until about, let's say, many years later, where I went on the quest to India. I went to Nepal. I was traveling through the world to find myself in the jungle, and, on top of mountains, and in monasteries, and in ashrams. And I started my journey quite young. But it wasn't until I was in the jungle drinking ayahuasca with the grandmothers there, the grandmothers from the jungle, until on one ceremony, ayahuasca was like, what on earth are you doing drinking from my breast? Get off my boob. I don't want you drinking from me anymore. Go back to Egypt. You're a mother yourself. Go drink from there, And that really woke me up. I was like, go back to Egypt? Why on earth would I want to go back? I felt like I needed to run away from, the suppression I felt there. And being who I was, I listened enough and thought, okay, well, if I've been on this deep quest and I've learned to listen to the voice of spirit, then I better listen to this. So I did go back to Egypt, and this was many years ago now, 8 years. And since then, oh my gosh, suddenly the whole world of Blue Lotus opened up so widely. I met so many people who work so directly with Blue Lotus from Egypt, who are from the land. And there is a legend in Egypt that says when the Blue Lotus comes back to the Nile, humanity will awaken and remember itself. Now you have to imagine that the Nile was packed with Blue Lotuses, like it was filled in water streams. Now, sadly, there isn't a single flower to be seen. It cannot grow in the water anymore. There are too many pollutants and too much iron in the water. But back then it was packed with Blue Lotus. So there's some very devout growers that grow the blue lotus in ponds and, in little, or on the balconies or on the rooftops. And they're like, well, if we keep cultivating the lotus, eventually, perhaps this legend will come true. Now, that legend didn't sound like a story from a fictional book. Again, I learned to listen. It hit me deeply in my core. Something so deeply said to me, wow, if a flower would come back to the world, humanity would remember itself. How profound is a flower? And there's such a deep, deep, deep wisdom and intelligence to this flower, or to this being, to this, manifestation of creation and of divinity. There's also a wonderful story by Buddha, because the lotus wasn't just used in Egypt, it was used by the Mayans. Also, the Buddha uses the lotus as a symbol. And there was, because I was very, very deeply in love with Vipassana. I was a deep devoted Vipassana meditator for years, many years. I sat in silence. All I cared about was connecting to spirit. And I remember this story about the Buddha. He stood in front of the Sangha, and everyone was waiting for the great talk, the great speech. Everyone wanted to listen to the Buddha, and everyone had gathered there to listen to the Buddha. And he just stood there with a lotus in his hand. That was it. Minutes turned, suddenly an hour, couple of people, some people got very impatient, like they were waiting for the great, thunder and lightning of Buddha's great talk that would hit them to the core. And Buddha just stood there with a lotus in his hand. And I remember of course, he's like, if you're so attuned to the moment, you will see the wonder and the simplicity that is creation and the manifestation of creation in every single moment. And there was the lotus as a symbol for that utter simplicity, which is the utter profoundness of creation. And that is the beauty of the blue lotus, or of the lotus in general. It contains with it such an utter simplicity, but for some reason, the potency of it is profound. That brings me now to the qualities of ingesting lotus or drinking lotus. The lotus has effects. It creates a relaxing feeling through the body. So it is used to relax. It has a quality of easing the muscle tension, and also easing mental tension. So it relaxes the body. It also contains with it a chemical that induces a sense of euphoria. Now, that doesn't mean euphoria as in you're going to go out of yourself, like if you're on another, some more artificial medicines or drugs, you could say, no, it's an inward upwelling of lightness. Now, that doesn't always happen, but it can happen. Relaxing, euphoria, and it's also a very powerful aphrodisiac. It can be. All these qualities can happen, which means it was also used for erectile dysfunctions or beings who'd lost their fire, their connection to life force. If people have a sense of not able to feel pleasure anymore through the body, drinking blue lotus can help you reconnect to your sensual pleasure, because it actually affects our sensory our receptors. So we feel maybe a little bit more deeply. We can feel colors more deeply, textures more deeply, sounds more deeply. So it isn't used as a medicine but it's a very gentle medicine. It does not create a psychedelic feeling of visions. It doesn't create a psychedelic journey, like if you are on mushrooms or any other kind of mushrooms or ayahuasca or San Pedro. No, it's very, very, very subtle. It works mainly through our dreamscapes. So it was used as a dream flower. Now, I don't know about you, but I know if I don't have time to process things through my dreaming, it's where I tend to, in the past where I've got unwell. So we need to dream, to digest our mind and our emotions. Dreams are a wonderful way to digest things. But also we can receive a lot of guidance through our dreaming. We can, in a way, if we attune to our dreams, they can really support us on our life journey. I don't know about you. Some of us are probably better dreamers than others. But dreaming was very important, especially in ancient Egypt. If people got sick, they put them in dream chambers, meaning you'd lie down for 3, 4, or 5 days without food, and or just listening to music, and allow yourself to dream. Why do we need to dream? Because we've lost the art of dreaming in this world that focuses so much on performance, right? Everything is about doing, efficiency. Everything has to be efficient, is linear. There's not much circular space for taking time to incubate, to even listen to our dreams, to listen to what who we really are from inside. To do that, we need to take space. We need to listen. So for the ancient Egyptians, we were made of many bodies. We're like a hologram of many, many bodies. And we have our physical body. Now, I'm not going to be able to go into everything so detailed. If you want that, there's many courses you can take. But we have our physical body, right? We have a very tangible physical body. We also have our body that makes up our personality, our likes, our dislikes. We have a body that contains within it our shadows. That's also a body. We have within us a body that contains within it all the electromagnetic field. It's called the second body, all the electromagnetics that create this life force energy inside of us. We have another body that is the body of our heart. We have another body that is the body which is called the Ab, the Ka, the personality. And then we have the Ba body, and the Ba body is depicted with wings. The Ba body is our soul, and our soul at night, what does it do? We're not here when we sleep. You're not present, you dream. Where does it go? One of the bodies needs to go and soar. It needs to fly, because that's the nature. If we don't take enough time to dream, if we don't take enough time to even daydream, I think is very healthy. They say that kids who take time to daydream and get a little bit bored are way more creative than those who are given things to do all the time. We by nature need space. We need space in our minds. We need spaciousness in order to allow that part of us to soar, right? Now, I know that's easier said than done. If you have a full-time job and full-time kids, it's not easy to say. I really don't want to, sometimes it isn't that easy. But when there is that minute, when there is that 5 or 10 minutes, allow the self to take a moment into flight, whether it's listening to a beautiful piece of music so deeply that for a moment you have lost all your awareness of where you are. That's that quality that can actually heal aspects of ourself. Now, that's what the Blue Lotus like. Create the spaciousness in your mind, in your heart, to allow yourself to take a moment to soar and to breathe. You need that for that aspect of you to be healthy. So that's what the Blue Lotus can help with. It supports the relaxing, but it also has the uplifting. In ancient Egypt, there was one major, I don't want to say goddess, because they didn't believe in gods and goddesses like archetypes. No, they were forces of nature. They were aspects of nature that lived within us and all around us. And one of them was called Ma'at. And Ma'at was the lady, you'd see her, she's like justice, with a white feather on her crown. And Ma'at was the governing force throughout nature, the laws of nature, the laws that keep everything in balance. You will never see a planet collide with another planet because mathematically decided that day to be off tune or in chaos. No, some things need chaos, but some things also don't get chaotic. They are attuned to a mathematical kind of precision, right? She is that law of that balances everything. But what is this law? It's not a law that governs the mind, an intellectual law. It is the law of the heart. When everything is as light as a feather, our emotions, our thoughts, our beliefs, our words, when we can weigh them against a white feather, then we are attuned to this frequency of Ma'at. She was found in all courthouses, in homes. When we aspire to lift our heart and our mind to become enlightened, not enlightenment only of mind, but enlightenment of heart, then we can live in a way in joy and in a harmonic frequency of joy. Now that sounds really beautiful, right? This is an aspiration, an inspiration, something to lift our heart and mind up towards becoming as light as a feather. In reality, though, that is one thing I always hold that above me, to aspire to that. May my thoughts, my heart, and my words be as light as a feather. May I not create any violence through my words, whatever, all those beautiful things. And yet, another force of nature, you could call her, in this case, we have Sekhmet, we have Isis, we have other forces of nature. They contain within them the beastly, animalistic aspect of ourself. Yes, we are souls with wings, but we are also bodies with fingers and tongues and feet. And, we eat and we digest and we shit and we want to have sex. And we have all these things that also make us up who we are as humans, right? So yes, within us contains the soul, but within us, we're also an animal. And in the ancient Egyptian world, you will see that the beautiful forces of nature are a hybrid between animal, beast and soul, beast and spirit. So we want to marry that. But what happens often, religions have disconnected them. One has become Satan and one has become the saint. One has become something that we should cut off. One should be one that we should aspire to. And this is found in many traditions. In our deep, deep, deep rooted memory and psychology, we are trained to believe something is good and something is bad, something is evil and something is good, right? This is just something that we've inherited through our DNA for millennia. And what the Blue Lotus, in a way, or these teachings that are coming back, is saying, no, actually, marry your animal, marry your beast to your soul. Remember who you truly are, because that is the gateway to your ultimate power. That is a gateway to your power. So let's take one of these aspects for ourselves, for example. Let's take the mother of the Blue Lotus. Now, when I say Blue Lotus, it's depicted as the divine child. The energy of the lotus is a childlike divinity, let's say an innocence of the heart. We are innocent. Anything we do is actually innocent in some way, but we'll go to that in a moment. So this beautiful, sweet, divine child of the Blue Lotus, it has a mother and a father. The mother is the lioness energy. She is a lioness. She roars. She's bloodthirsty. She's passion beyond measure. She's our physicality. She's Sekhmet. She's the one that wants to ride life. She's the one that drips with desire to live so fucking fully. It's that part of us that wants so badly. And you know what? That want and that desire is holy. It's powerful. It's like a divine permission slip that says, by all means, feel your desires and fulfill your desire, right? She is that aspect of you. She's also contains with her that part that is like the no bullshit detector, right? Because this lioness energy knows herself. She knows her boundaries. She knows what she wants. And then if you know what you want so much, you know exactly what you don't want, right? Now, this is a type of energy that was very important because it protects that innocent part of you. This energy will, in a way, devour anything that comes in its way. Now, that might sound really horrible, actually. My God, devouring anything that would come in the way to fulfill my desire. That's selfish. That's like anything that you want, but it has to actually really be in alignment with your heart and your mind and your soul and your being, right? It's not a thing that wants to take you out of distraction. No, it is something that is your deep, true cause, longing and desire. So Sekhmet protects this innocent part of us, but she also desires so deeply. She's pure passion. Now, what is she devouring if she's devouring anything that is coming in the way of fulfilling her desire? It's not devouring others. It's not a violent act towards others that are in your way. It is the thoughts and the beliefs that want to sabotage and self-sabotage and self-destruct your own creative energy. It isn't the energy that comes from outside, from others getting in your way. That's a very competitive, immature energy. It's the energy that is your own critical thought, your own inner gray ghosts, you could call them, that will come and try and come in the way between you, your passion, your creativity, and the manifestation of your creativity. Because we are in a way gapped between what we want and what really happens. And what is in that gap is all the doubts, is all the concerns, is all the worries, is everything that the mind in a way comes in between and creates a buffer. And the beauty of working with this powerful lioness energy, this is like there's a fire deep enough inside of us that burns so fully for our passions and our desires and our creativity and our creations that it will devour, it will chew up all those thoughts. It won't poke at them and then they come back stronger. No, it will eat them up and crunch the bones of these, and then it's like expel it. It's like enough. So I highly encourage you, when you have these limiting energies that come in, my beautiful mentor from Africa, he's always like, guard yourself with 2 lions, guard your mind with lions, that if any thought comes in and you know it so well, those lions are ready to pounce. Let nothing come in your way. That's really powerful to say. It's very powerful to act upon that. Very, very powerful. And where does that energy come from? It's not a mental energy. It's from your gut. It's from your sex. It's from your base. It's a fire that burns inside your body so deeply that you will choose your life over everything, because choosing your life is choosing life in general. You're saying yes to life. You're saying yes to life of this earth. You're saying yes to creation. So encouraging that fire to burn within you. And we're taught to keep that fire down. We're taught to dim it a little so it's not too much. Well, here you're getting a divine permission slip for a lot more. Why not, right? As long as you don't hurt anyone, yourself, or anything, you don't hurt anyone, yourself, or anything, then everything is in a divine harmonic attunement. And it doesn't mean it has to be all like spiritual and airy and no, it can be raw and full of energy, right? It's coming, burning from somewhere deep inside of you, and to listen to that. So this is the mother of the Blue Lotus. This is the mother energy. It's the great mother energy. Now, in the story, and I don't have time now to go fully into the story, she gets a little bit too bloodthirsty. She gets a little bit too drunk on that, because when we have that, we can also get drunk on that power. Oh my God, I'm invincible. And we can ride it, and it's nice for a moment. But if we live only in that, we're going to get drunk on it and we're going to lose consciousness. So she needs a balance. And what is that balance? Like everything in the ancient Egyptian work, anything, if you study with me in any of the work I do, the feminine has to be balanced with a masculine counterpart. Otherwise, we're just working with one energy, but where's the other? That's why I don't just do feminine work. I do feminine married to the masculine work. They have to come into union now. The father of the Blue Lotus, or the father or the counterpart of Sekhmet energy, is Ptah. And Ptah is the architect. He is the divine word. He is everything that is, okay, so here's your passion. Let's put it into form. And for those of you that are creators, you know you need a design to bring creation into being. Call it a structure. Call it something that makes sense. A little bit of logic. Infuse it with some logic and some reason is important if you want to give birth to it. Passion alone without any form of architecture is just passion, right? And we can get lost in that for a long time. So we want to tune it. We want to marry it. We want to bring it into a groundedness. And this groundedness is a Ptah energy. Ptah was the creator of the spoken word. It's amazing, right? Here are sounds. I'm just saying sounds. They're just sounds. But for some reason, they have enough form that when you receive it on the other end, you are clocking something, you're making sense, right? That's really amazing, right? What is that? That is the intelligence of Patah, putting form into the formless, bringing structure into what cannot be structured. The whole world energy is just energy. And energy, where's this energy born from? It's born from pure chaos. It's born from the dark waters of Nun. They are dark, they are infinite, they are eternal, they are chaotic. Nothing there you can ever make sense of. We will never know that place. It is the primordial. But from there, in order for us to even be in this incredibly sophisticated structure called our body or our mind, there has to be a very intelligent force that brings it into being. It's a divine architecture, is it not? The body is an incredible architecture. Our mind is an exquisite architecture. All of life contains within it exquisite architecture. So it is the marriage between the chaotic, brutalic kind of nonsensical chaos with a profound order, with a profound architecture. And if we want to work with our creative energy and bring things to life, first of all, we're going to have to dare to shake up a bit, loosen up our mind, loosen up our body, because we're not going to create from a place where we know ourselves to create from. It's going to come from the unknown within us. If we want to create something, we can't figure it out. Otherwise, we're creating a 12-step program, and there's enough of that. It's very dull, actually, because it's copy-pasted. It's nothing original. And when we work with this blue lotus energy, we are working with our originality. We are giving birth to things that have come from our own living mud, our own experience. You could call it all the accumulated shit of our lives that we've dared to embrace and dared to love and dared to learn from, that we create our masterpieces, which is our life, our self. And it doesn't have to be something grand. It's just something that is original, something that you can feel deeply. So let's take a breath into that for a moment. Ah, yeah. Yeah, for those of you that are interested in any of this stuff, at the end of this month, actually the end of July, I create every month now a weekend dedicated to a different union. It's called Egyptian Tantra, the start of a whole Egyptian Tantra sequence. And we'll work with just different unions every weekend, once a month. Or if you want to really dive deep into the Blue Lotus, in August, I have a 1-month Blue Lotus mentorship. And we're going to work very deeply with just the Blue Lotus, and these different teachings of marrying this crazy, wild nature, our creative nature, with something that is architecturally feasible to give birth to our real creations in the world. Yeah. But before I continue anymore, if there's any questions, anything, please add that into the chat. Know that you're very welcome to share at any moment. And you don't have to. Okay. I'll continue a little bit more about the Blue Lotus, actually, how the stages of the Blue Lotus, and then we may go on a little journey together so that you can actually have an experience of it. There are 3 stages of the Blue Lotus that I specifically work with. One is the mud, one is the bud, and one is the lotus. Now, when we journey, first of all, we start journeying into the mud, because the mud is often a place that we neglect. I actually don't want to say often. It was a place that I neglected on my own journey for a while, because I tried to go straight into the lotus. I wanted to go straight into, you could say, the opening, into the enlightenment, into everything that was uplifted and beautiful. But I forgot to go into the mud, or I had no idea how to go into the mud. And I realized that I was never going to attain any of that deep-rooted joy that was lasting, deep-rooted wisdom that I could count on. I wasn't actually going to have anything that would be long lasting It would be a fleeting moment of joy, and then it was gone again. It wasn't until I could actually go deep into the mud where I realized, oh God, I have to go into the darkness, into my own shit, and into the shadow, into where I don't want to go, into the hidden basements. I have to go back into my past. I have to look into the places that are disfigured, disformed, shameful, all of those aspects. But there was my depth. There was the authenticity of what would come through me. There was my embodiment. There was my originality. And there was somewhere that I had no idea how to go. So luckily on the journey, I found the right people who I could journey with to take me into the mud. When we journey into the mud, for everyone it will be different, but we go into our unconsciousness. Of course, in our unconsciousness lies our patterns, lies our beliefs. We also, sometimes we have to face the deepest fear, which is also our deepest desire, where our power actually lies, right? Our power doesn't lie in the lotus, in the flower. Our power lies in the mud, in the darkness, in the shit. It's also looking at all the experiences we've had in our life and realizing, oh my God, that thing that that I keep saying, oh no, why did that happen? I shouldn't have had that happen. Those reoccurring loops. Actually, someone said so beautifully, my whole life is just made up of 5 or 8 reoccurring loops. And it's true. There are some records that are on loop. And it's not until we go into those loops and find the start of those loops and then dare to change the pattern of those loops, then we can start to say, that looping can dissolve now into some nice fertilizer, some nice wisdom, some nice depth, and I can grow from that. But we can't avoid it, and we can't pretend it's not there, and we can't try to stop it just through our mind alone. Willpower is good, but in the mud, we have to allow some things to decay, to die, and to disintegrate, and dare to let things fall apart a bit and get a bit ugly. But there's a tremendous beauty because it is connected to our true nature, right? Could say it is a more feminine part of the journey, the more downward descent part of the journey. So that's the mud. And now I'm like learning to really love being in the mud. At the beginning, it was like, oh, that's so disgusting. Oh, that's so, oh, it's so foul. Oh, it's so, I can't, I can't, because you can't maintain an image in the mud. When you're falling apart, you're falling. So no matter how much makeup you put on or how much you try, it oozes out. There's a wildness now about your spirit, The only way you can go about it is to shake it off, to dance, to howl, to find other people you can be a bit crazy with, go into the woods or something, but nothing else will start to make sense. Like, got to allow that process to happen in the mud. It's very beautiful. It's very real, but it may break up a little bit of the image we have, or the parts that want to hold it together. So that's the mud. And then when we go into the bud process, we go into the heart. We go into all the places that matter to us in our heart. It's a more softer journey. It's the softer part of the journey. It's where we feel into our deep desires, but it's less a desire from the base. It's more like our prayers. It's our deep connection to everything that deeply matters to our life, everything that touches us. It's where we start to accept things or not, or face the fact that we cannot accept or forgive people. It's not just, oh, forgive. Okay, I've forgiven that person. No, sometimes we have to accept the fact that we can't forgive someone for a while, or we can't forgive something, but to hold that deeply in our heart. So it's a very soft, internal, watery process. It's very connected to our tears, to our emotions, to our dreaming, to our softness, to our listening. It's where we listen to what we really need in the moment. And actually in this phase, it's very likely that a lot of the noise and distraction of the world starts to melt away for a while. When we're in the bud phase, we want a sanctuary. We need a space that we can crawl into to feel safe. It's usually a time where, I don't know if you've had that, but I know I've had cocooning phases of my life where I don't want to see many people. I can't actually tolerate noise or tolerate people or tolerate anything that excites my nervous system, anything that is too invigorating. It's actually a time of, resting. It's a time where people go off to silent retreats, a time where you just want to come home and light candles and sit with yourself or journal or, watch meaningful things that touch you or listen to beautiful sounds and have only meaningful conversations. And maybe some of you have had this phase, or maybe you're in it right now. It's also very beautiful. The bud phase, it's like the sanctuary phase in our lives. And maybe you have a morning that is a bud morning. Maybe you have an afternoon or a night, which is like, tonight I'm going to have this type of environment. Sometimes they're phases, but sometimes they're hours or moments where we attune to that, right? It's a cycle, it's always changing. And then we have the lotus phase. And the lotus is a phase where we have learned from the mud. We have embodied the experience of the mud and of the bud. And now in the lotus phase, it's not where we come out with our mission. It's where we simply radiate who we are. And you can't put a date to that. You can't decide, now I'm a lotus, I'm going to radiate my wisdom to the world. You can make it happen on some level, but when it comes from your soul, from your heart, from your body, it's very different, right? It's like an upwelling of nature within you. And at that moment, it might be a moment where suddenly, for a phase, maybe you release it through a piece of writing. Maybe for you, it's a moment of going out into the world and sharing with others. Maybe it's where you've birthed something in that period of the mud and the bud, where now you are creating something into the world, allowing it to ooze out of you. You're sharing from that space. And that doesn't have to be, again, something grand, like now you've published your book, now you've created this thing. No. It can be as simple as you're walking through the world, feeling as yourself, right? Suddenly you're just entering spaces and you're feeling yourself. It's like your soul nature is, you're feeling more authentic than you did before. So because sometimes things feel so like, oh, they have to be like this for them to work. You have to suddenly make a lot of money, or you have to be famous, or you have to create something really good and impactful. No, not everyone has that fate. And it's not everyone's path or way or destiny. For some, it's as simple as being so happy for a period of time where, you bring it out through your food and through loving your children. And suddenly it's like something has changed in your life and you've more tapped into who you really are. You feel more connected, more at home, more peaceful, more joyful. So the lotus closes every night, because when we are in that phase, and I have to learn this because I have a lot of fire, that I need to close up to and restore and bring it back to myself. So if we're only in this giving, oh my God, I'm a lotus, and we forgot to close and give it back to ourselves, then we're also going to go into a little bit of a burnout or a phase where we're like, oh, I don't feel so good anymore, right? So it's about opening and then closing, open and then closing, bringing it back to ourselves. And then what happens? The lotus doesn't last forever. It goes back down into the mud. And then it goes through that process again. And it's cyclical. So each of you will be in a cycle right now, likely. Maybe you're a bit of this, maybe you're that, maybe you're like, I don't know, I'm a little bit of all of them. Great. So you're going through that process maybe every day, or maybe there's a phase of your life now where you're going through, oh, I'm really now in the mud phase, or I'm really in this incubation sanctuary phase, or now I'm in my sharing phase. If you feel to, you can write in the chat where you feel you are, if you want to. But it's something beautiful to attune to nature and to our cycles, because again, we are so, I don't know for you, but there's this thing about having to do every single fucking day, be efficient and get your shit done and, show up and be perfect and make it happen. And it's not natural, right? We were not created that way. In ancient Egypt, the most popular temple of all of them was the temple of the cat, Bastet, Why? Because they aspired to live like cats. Do cats work all the time? Hell no. Cats are lounging all the time. But when it's time to show up, they're there 100% fully present and ready. The rest of the time, they're enjoying life. Now, that was one of the things in ancient Egypt, that they were like, enjoy life. When we eat, we are in pleasure. When we make love, we are in pleasure. When we're social, we're not stressing about all the things that we have to do and all the backlog and wake up and all the to-do lists. No, it's like, when you're in life, you're in life. And when it's time, when it's time for war, you're fully in war. When it's time for, when it's time to really show up in passion for what you're bringing or create. So, but it's in the moment. It's not stress, right? So we want to start to dissolve that stress of needing to be, or pressure to be anything or anyone other than to be ourselves. And one of the things why there is so much stress is we are seeking approval from others. Okay. Beautiful. So we have someone who's merging into the lotus. Wonderful. And so okay, we have some lotuses in the group. That's beautiful. Muddy butt. Yeah. Wonderful. So yeah. Now one lotus rhizome will last up to 1,000 years. That's so powerful, huh? It's like we are in a continuous state of renewal all the time. We just have to remember that we are part of nature. So the last thing I want to say about the lotus, in the lotus, Nefertum himself, when you go into the underworld, when you die as a soul, remember the Egyptians were really into the world of the underworld. They understood the underworld. What happens when we die? What happens in our deep unconscious? Where do we go when we dream? Through the blue lotus flower, they could really wake up in the dream. When you drink a lot of blue lotus, you'll start to feel like, what is this world and what is the dream world? And you'll start to wake up from this dreaming state. We're always somewhat, according to the blue lotus, like in some way we're sleeping through life. And as we start to wake up, we awaken. And it's not waking up like you do in the morning. It's waking up from our soul. We start to wake up to the reality that we were asleep a lot of the time, right? Our unconsciousness was running the show a lot. And now it's like, oh, I get to be creator too, or co-create my life. So going back to the underworld story, when the soul journeys through all the gates of the underworld, and we'll go more into that if you do the Blue Lotus mentorship, we're going to go very deeply into all these things. At the last gate, after you've confronted your deepest fears, after you've gone to see your life, you could say your many lives, after you've seen who you are at your core, you then come towards Nefertum. If you make the journey, some souls cannot make the journey. They get too scared. So they come back and they don't ever make it through. If you make it through and you start to really allow yourself to feel everything so deeply, eventually you get to the last gate and there stands the Blue Lotus Nefertum himself. And Blue Lotus is like that kaleidoscope. I like to imagine, like he turns the kaleidoscope and suddenly everything is in its perfect beauty. Beauty, not as we know it today, beauty as this image of beauty, beauty as we see things as they truly are, and we realize like, wow, this life is truly it's a miracle. It's a wonder. The fact that I'm here, the fact that I'm sitting here listening right now, everything that I've ever done in my life was an experience that is leading to the next. This whole world, suddenly, every experience, every thought, every feeling, it renders it into this crystalline perfection that is who you are and is your life. And in that, there isn't a room for doubt. Did I make the right choice? Every choice, whichever one you ever could have done or you ever will do or you're ever going to take right now is the right choice for you, right? We make this thing, it has to be the right thing. Otherwise, it's no, and there's no regrets. Suddenly everything that's ever happened is like, oh my gosh, that was for that supported this, that helped me realize this, that was, oh my God. And suddenly the veil is lifted and it's like, because that's what we want to prepare to when we do meet ourselves in the underworld. You're going to see what has weighed my heart and mind on this journey, what has weighed me down so I couldn't be in the present moment of joy. Oh, it was this regret. Oh, it was this doubt. Oh, it was this thing I said years ago. It was the fact that I didn't forgive my dad when I was 5 for doing. All these things start to come up. And that's why people are so afraid of dying, because they have not digested their life, and they have to digest it after. And now we want to digest it so that we can render it into a space of realizing, my gosh, everything is in its divine space of order. Who am I to even, what part of me is even questioning that, doubting it? Like, what part of me is fighting the perfection that is my life, resisting the perfection that is my life? And so that's what the Blue Lotus, right at the end, it's like, it's the path. They called it the path of beauty. And again, it's not beauty of being this weight or this young or this whatever we distortedly see as beauty in the world. It's all image. It's mind fabrication. It's to pull that off and to see the true beauty that is you and your life and all of creation around you. Suddenly the mind isn't, I like this, I don't like this is good, this is evil. It brings it all into this totality. The mind isn't split anymore. Our perception isn't split. We're not disconnected and disassociating from life and people around us. We see it in its totality. And that is what the Buddha shared. That's what the ancient Egyptians shared. That's what every single thing will share, is to come into the connection that is the totality of all creation, all of life, all of divinity in its essence, that is love. And it's repeated in every single tradition, the same thing. And here it is said again through the teachings of the Blue Lotus. And the Blue Lotus can help with that journey. So let's take a deep breath into that. Oh, beautiful. So enough said. Let's, if there's anything that wants to be shared in this, shared in the chat, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we'll start with a very short guided journey. For those of you that are resonating with this, again, you can join at the end of the month, and every month union, which is a weekend of really merging the different forces of nature within us, or the Blue Lotus mentorship, where we go into this very deeply. Okay, so let's take a moment now to take some nice deep breaths into the body. And just imagining yourself diving into the water that is your body, the earth and the mud that is your body. Like a part of you, your consciousness, so that part of you that is aware, is diving in to the body. Diving down, 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 deeper into the waters that make up your dreams, that make up your feelings, that make up your thoughts, and everything that exists underneath the surface of you. Deep breaths into your abdomen and inviting you just to slowly, very slowly spiral your hips, very gently. It could be micro movements, micro if you want. Stirring that water that is the power that exists within you, in your root and in your creative energy. water, earth, and fire, breath. This blood that flows through your body, these bones that hold you together, this breathing that gives you life, blood, sap. And allowing this energy from your roots to go all the way up, gently through your spine, just giving this life-giving breath, this energy through your body. Breathe it up into your heart. From your root to through your spine, all the way up into your mouth, into your face, all the way back down. Allow yourself to make some sound as you simply open up these passageways for life energy to move through. And you may feel heavy, you may feel tired, you may feel like, oh, I don't like this, I don't want this. This is stupid. Breathe life into that. Dissolve that into this stream of energy that is always flowing through you. Always. And as you allow this energy to flow through your body, it may stop somewhere. It may stop somewhere at your heart, or even your mind is struggling, or maybe somewhere in your body that feels something, where it feels like maybe there's a part that's like, I don't want, or don't like, or a part of you that is maybe, or if you feel just full open channel, allow that to flow. But sometimes there's a part that's like, oh, here I just need to stop and be and breathe and feel. I can't push here. I can't, it doesn't flow here. And just breathe in. Every riverbed contains within it stones. Every flowing water stream contains within it obstacles. It is a part of your nature to be gentle, to be soft here. To realize, oh, maybe I am a little bit even stuck here. Keep coming back to that image of a riverbed with stones. The water finds its way to flow nonetheless. Being gentle, patient. This is where we learn to hold and embrace ourselves. Imagining that fierce, beautiful mother holding that heart that maybe hasn't been held before. And softly breathing. Maybe it's in your throat, maybe it's in your creative center, where there is a space of, oh, here, maybe flowing a little slower, not at all. And bring life and breath and embrace and holding into that. Within it all lies a great pearl of wisdom for you. And with the next deep breath, we're going to bring all that energy up to the heart. And imagine your heart weighed against a feather, a white feather. What is weighing your heart, beloved? Just breathe into that. There's nothing else you need to do other than to breathe and feel. That's all. So simple. So simple. With every breath, allow it to even soothe that part that is maybe even weighed down a little. Soothing yourself with this gentle breathing. Remembering the symbol of this perfection, crystallizing in perfection. Is there something you can accept right now, all the way to its core? Maybe not. Maybe there is something with an exhale that you can lighten your heart with right now. Oh. Your breath is the key. Your breath is the key. And with a nice deep inhale and a nice full exhale, finding your own key, your own doorway to this embodied wisdom through your heart. It's always there, every breath. Inhale, exhale. Just give yourself the space when you need it. The space when you need it. And slowly coming back, encouraging you to take time with this, maybe today or later. Put some nice music and simply allow life to flow through you and to feel, to bring your awareness. It's so simple. So if you do decide that you want to journey more with this, you're welcome to. We will go through every single phase, and we do half an hour to 40-minute guided shamanic journeys into the roar, into the mud, into the phases of the messy and the beautiful and all of the different phases. This was now just a tiny homeopathic drop, something you can take with you. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this work. Since I've discovered this, really, there's nothing else I wish to do at all with my life. So thank you for being a part of this moment with me. I hope you enjoyed and benefited and received something that was helpful or insightful for you or touching in some way. And you're very welcome to continue the journey with me. I will send you a follow-up email with the recording and also with any information that you may have for the upcoming courses. So I'm going to stop this recording for now. So thank you for those watching the recording for being here, and see you soon.